the thing I wish people could do is let go of the past, leave it in the past, learn from it, find out how it has helped you, as in your journey, and then let it go. Start again. Be grateful for every new day, a fresh start. It's always a chance to begin again. Lightening up on yourself. It's okay, you could try again.
Hello and welcome to Curious Ones podcast by Yandara. I'm Yael Ginzburg, the host of the podcast, a yoga and meditation teacher and philosophy lover. Each week you will hear eye-opening interviews with the different teachers of the Yandara Yoga Institute, located in beautiful Baja, Mexico, along with other teachers that pass through here. This life-changing knowledge shared through authentic, heartfelt communication will help you live a happier, more fulfilled, and connected life. Let's dive in. I'm so honored to have our guest today, Kathryn Remati. Kathryn is a meditation instructor and behavior modification expert for weight, sleep, and stress management. Kathryn guides people around the world in meditations to foster self-love and balance through her own app Tranquil Me and her meditations on the Insight Timer app that have been played almost 600,000 times. Welcome, Kathryn. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Yael.
It's my honor. You're leading here a retreat at Yandara, and I just love this subject because I think it's so relevant to anybody in the world. And the subject is stress management through mindfulness and meditation. And the thing is that everybody in the world, I think everybody, has some sort of amount of stress in their life. Even being a yoga teacher, there is still a lot of stress in my life. So I would like to dive into that and kind of unpack it.
Yes, you bring up a really good point. So many people assume as a yoga teacher or a meditation teacher even that you are always calm and everything flows, everything's perfect in your life and you have it all together. But you're human and stress is unavoidable. No matter who you are, no matter where you live, there's no escaping stress. And people try to go on vacation to avoid it. And even at vacation time, things go wrong and they create stress.
Right.
So it's a matter of not avoiding it, but managing it.
Can you speak a little bit about the cycle of stress that you told me about?
Yes. So in terms of managing stress, you have to understand where you are first, accept what's going on. And you might be caught up in a cycle of stress where you have a trigger, you have a certain stress or stressor that comes into your life. It could be simple or it could be a very tragic thing that happens, but it can set you off, and it could be just a daily thing where suddenly you feel anger or negative emotions rising up. Someone could cut you off in traffic.
Yeah, it can be something small.
It's very small. Yet we still have this primitive part of our brain, which is the fight or flight response. And instead of being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, like a caveman to save your life or stay and fight, we get cut off in traffic, and our mind and body, they perceive it as a threat. It's just a matter of perception. The scientists have proven that we are running around in this fight or flight mode, which is corrosive on our system because of all the adrenaline and stress hormones
Mm-hmm.
like cortisol that's flooded our system. And one little thing can set us off during the day, and then another little thing, another thing kind of snowballs. And before you know it, you're spending your day in this stress mode. It's your default mode. And it ages you, and it has an effect on your physical body.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of getting out of that loop, getting out, breaking that pattern of stress, learning tips and techniques, stress management techniques that can help you to release that stress throughout the day, because it's always going to happen. And then you learn to respond appropriately to something rather than that knee-jerk reaction that you just have been using over and over for maybe decades even.
Right. It's automatic. It's really, I feel like it's the survival part of us that kind of like kicks in when something happens, somebody cuts us off. And nowadays, like you said, it's not a tiger that's chasing us. It's maybe a small comment from a friend or a partner or a boss, or something that just doesn't seem right for us, and it immediately kicks in this, in the good cases, it sets you back, and in the bad cases, it triggers a attack.
Yes, you have a defense mechanism.
Right.
And you've met people who are so defensive, and especially these days, where we're going through so much as a world with the pandemic and the divisiveness that's happening in the world, people are defending their position, and there's even more stress because you have to defend these beliefs. And that's why I have started these retreats to lighten up, to let down those defenses, let down those walls, and become one human family again. And stress is something we have to address just in our daily life, and then we can be more open to other people.
So let's talk about the process of how do you do that, because I think that it's really part of our life. We can't avoid these situations, and for me, it's kind of hard to understand why we react so strongly about these small things. It's something that I'm definitely observing within myself in my reactions. But let's get practical. What do we do?
Exactly. Well, we have to understand we are connected, the mind and the body, the spirit is all one. You cannot not listen to your body and its reaction. So when you feel stress, mindfulness will bring you back to your body, and you can investigate. And you notice you're clutching the steering wheel, you're white knuckling your way to work, and then your breath is always shallow up here. So the first thing you can do is learn a couple simple breath techniques that you can do anywhere. And the first one I recommend is a long, slow, deep inhale, because we are always shallow breathing. And some people even have panic attacks and anxiety attacks. The level of anxiety around the world has grown so much. So what we need to do is stop and breathe. It's so simple, but extremely effective.
Yeah.
So the long, slow, deep breath, it's been proven scientifically to instantly shut off that fight or flight mode. And so you stop the cortisol and you activate the parasympathetic system as soon as you take that long, slow, deep breath. Take out a couple, and then add an affirmation, a positive statement, because what happens is when you feel those negative emotions, it affects your thoughts. And it goes both ways. Your negative thoughts lead to negative emotions. So a way out of the stress cycle is also with your thoughts. Stop and choose again. We can choose our thoughts. Sometimes we believe everything the mind tells us. And I tell people, don't believe everything you think, because sometimes your mind has a mind of its own, and you go down this rabbit hole of negativity. So often I would say, think of something you're grateful for to get you grounded again into this positive present moment where everything really is fine. So stopping and counting your blessings, having a gratitude practice in the morning where you write down 3 things that helps you stay healthy mentally, so that when something does trigger you, you don't go straight to the negative, which is our natural, we're conditioned to believe everything is negative. We're surrounded by a negative culture. We watch the news way too much. I suggest another tip is turn off the news, because people get addicted to 24-hour news cycle. And honestly, the news is just fear-based.
Yeah.
And it will affect your perception. And like I said before, that fight or flight mode is all perception. With us, modern man, we're not really threatened. Our lives are not threatened, but we believe it is.
We react like it's a threat.
Yes, so a way out of that cycle is your thoughts. A positive thought will have more positive results.
Mm-hmm.
You'll feel happier. And so it's a matter of also looking at your self-talk. Mm-hmm. How do you talk to yourself? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're our own worst critic. You know, you could be so mean to yourself.
Yeah. We talk to ourselves, or at least I, in a way that I would never talk to a friend.
Exactly. You have that little mean, judgy voice.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like I hold myself to standards that are just impossible to even achieve.
Yes, and it's sometimes has a very harsh tone to it, mm-hmm. and you call yourself names you would never call anyone else, mm-hmm. and we need that is the basis of everything.
Yeah.
First of all, perfectionism is ridiculous, really. We have to accept that we are perfectly imperfect. Mm-hmm. And I love the Elizabeth Gilbert quote where she says, embrace the glorious mess that you are. So you gotta laugh at yourself. You gotta lighten up on this stuff.
Yeah. I love that your approach to it is lighten up. We take things so seriously, even the spiritual practice. Like, we have to be so strict about it. We have to meditate for 5 hours every morning at 4 a.m., and if we don't do that, then we're failing or doing something wrong.
Yes.
And I love that your basic approach to it, and I guess the way that you kind of come into it is, first of all, don't take it so seriously. Lighten up.
Exactly. Yeah. And don't take yourself so seriously, mm-hmm. honestly. And if you lighten up on yourself and you're less judgmental on this person, you will find you won't be so judgmental on everyone else.
Right. There's so many things that you said that I would love to touch upon. Let's start with language, because for me, I would say this was a very big realization a few years ago. And actually, it came from the book, The 4 Agreements, which many people know. It's a wonderful book by Don Miguel Ruiz. And one of the agreements is purity of the word. I read it in Hebrew, so I'm loosely translating. But he speaks there about how much power words have. And in that book, I realized words create love affairs. Words create wars between countries. It's how we use our words that can create reality for us. And when those are big examples, but we can take it into day-to-day life. The words that we use in our relationships, the words that we use when we speak about ourselves, to ourselves and to other people, have so much weight in how we perceive the world. Yes,
and it's a great point you brought up, because your communication style creates a lot of stress too. It can create a lot of stress. So you have to look at how you communicate with others. Not just the words you use are very important, such as instead of you make me feel this way, when you do that, do pointing the finger at someone, maybe put it another way, like, I feel this when we talk about that, or when, rather than straight away someone putting up their defenses, we can just talk about your experience. I feel. So start your sentences with I feel, and be very mindful and speak slowly. But that's why meditation is so good. It gives you that chance to hit the pause button to respond appropriately to people. But there are other communication styles that actually create a lot of stress, where you're very aggressive style. Someone has a very aggressive style. They probably don't even realize they're being that aggressive, but it's all about them. and they can be quite a bully. All their feelings are important and no one else's is. And then, so that's out of balance. And then there's the other extreme where you are a very passive communicator. You don't communicate much at all because your feelings don't matter as much as everyone else's. So it's a matter, again, of perception and self-identity. So learning to step away from being a doormat and learning to step away from being a bully, there's a nice happy medium way where you can be just a positive assertiveness where everybody's opinion counts. Everybody's feelings count. I count, you count, let's work this out. Everything's fine. I'm not judging, you're not judging. Let's just, see what makes us a little more balanced and happy. So yeah, it causes stress for sure if you're not, speaking to yourself and others in a positive way.
Right. I think what you mentioned now, I've been actually thinking about it a lot recently. When you come with like demands and too assertive, I think it's related to expectations that we expect others to be a certain way or to fulfill our needs in a certain way. And the other end of the spectrum that you spoke about, being a doormat or not saying what we need, I think it's related to not valuing ourselves appropriately.
Yes.
Not really understanding what our worth is. What kind of treatment are we worthy of having? So what has been your journey in finding the middle in between these two?
Well, teachers teach. In my case anyway, I'll speak for myself. I teach what I need to learn. I always have, because I have been researching what I need to learn. And then I realized maybe other people need it too. And it has just naturally evolved into sharing with others what I've been able to accumulate and gratefully had the time to study because I have a psychology background. I first learned to meditate when I was 16.
Wow.
I was actually a very depressed, messed up teenager. I was about to get kicked out of high school. And I found this self-improvement course. It was really a mind development course, but it was basically a lot of meditation. Hours of meditation for a weekend, a night, and another weekend. But it was fantastic because it taught me a lot about self-love too. And it was the first time in my life I realized that, there is love everywhere. And it's also inside of me. So that was the start of my self-love journey. Because I was always reading spiritual books and self-help books since I was 13 because I wanted to know what was wrong with me. And then I went on to get a psychology degree to figure out once again, what is wrong with me? Even though I was still meditating, taking in spiritual knowledge, deep down, you can't, you still feel unworthy. And what is wrong? So that was beginning of my self-love journey. And now I realize from teaching so many sleep classes to insomniacs, weight management classes to obesity and those medical conditions, as well as just general emotional wellness with stress management, I realize the basis of every single imbalance is self-love, a lack of self-love and self-compassion. Because think about it, when you love something, you take care of it, right? You love your plants. You wouldn't put vodka in there instead of water. It would kill the plant. So we water our plants. We put them in just the right amount of sun so they don't burn. And we take care of them. We take care of our pets. And our pets teach us unconditional love and forgiveness all the time. And we need that for ourselves. So it's just a matter of deserving, feeling worthy. And it's funny how the yoga community are perfectionists. It seems to attract a lot of perfectionism and people who want to be perfectly in balance and want to be perfect in so many ways, mind, body, and spirit. And it creates a lot of stress. It creates a lot of judgment, harsh inner judgment. So learning to laugh at yourself, when you make a mistake, learn that it's a process of, we need to make mistakes.
Right.
There's no such thing as failure. Because if we didn't make mistakes, how are we going to learn?
Right.
Einstein said he had failed 1,000 times before he'd get to a certain theory. And he loved each failure because it got him closer to the right one.
Right. Every failure is like, okay, now I'm one step closer to where I want to go.
Yeah.
I love that. What I think about a lot is, if we're beings of light and love, how is it that it's so hard for so many of us to love ourselves?
I think it comes down to conditioning. There's a longer version of this on my course. I have recorded a self-love course on Insight Timer. And one of the chapters is, why is self-love so difficult? I think it's just a part of our way we were raised, our conditioning. Our parents were doing the best they could to make us successful in the world by saying, don't do this, don't do that, and keep us safe. So a lot of the fear-based thinking that we are been raised with has been for our safety, but it has had a negative effect in other ways of our life, where we think, oh, I'm not good at this, I'm not good enough at that. And rather than developing our talent and finding out what we're passionate about and what we're good at, we want to follow along what culture tells us it has to be successful.
Right. And I found that it's a lot about what the people who are around us valued, and maybe that doesn't align with what we value or the value that we have to bring to the world.
Yes, we're all individuals.
Right.
And your family can often put you into a cultural box. Oh, our culture does it this way. Or when you're at this age, you have to be at this stage. You have to be married by 30. Or in my case, I was like, you have to be a millionaire by 40. But there were all sorts of these unspoken rules, or sometimes spoken by different, families.
Yeah. Have you found that you were able to break out of these boxes? And if so, how did you do it?
Well, I was lucky because I was always the black sheep of the family. I was always in trouble. I was always speaking my truth. And it was not well received. So by the time I left home as soon as I could to go to college at 18. And it was so freeing. I think college experience, and not everyone has to go to college at all, but just traveling the world, being an adult, be able to make your own decisions is so freeing, so wonderful. It's a great stage of life. I highly recommend people start to meditate so they can get in touch with their true self. But it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight that you really know who you are and what you're good at. But it only need to start small. People have these big ideas. They want to change the world. They want to be maybe rich and famous. And I love the Jim Carrey quote where he says, I wish everyone was rich and famous. Everyone were billionaires. Because then they would realize once they have all that stuff, that's not it. That's not the key. That's not what's going to make you happy.
Yeah. I love that quote as well. So how was your journey? How did it look like from breaking out of these boxes and finding your own value?
Oh, for me personally, well, it was a long journey. Self-love is like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. My steps back were divorce. So I had a lot of childhood trauma that I was aware of, but some of it I wasn't until I had marriage counseling, where a counselor brought it out of me, some shame from my childhood that I was repressing. That sort of stuff will block your self-love and sabotage you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important that you deal with what's in there that you've been carrying around. You have this little box of shame. Everyone thinks we have so much to forgive ourselves for, but it's really more just getting it out into the light.
Mm-hmm.
To dissipate those ghosts.
Yeah,
disappear.
awareness.
Yes, in awareness, loving, kind awareness,
Mm-hmm.
not beat yourself up, you're a bad person awareness.
Right.
That's the first thing we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a matter of, okay, this happened to me. It's not anyone's fault anymore. I have to own it and I have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I dealt with it through a marriage and a divorce. All that came to light. So even that was a learning experience. And then instead of going straight into I knew instinctively that I should work on myself after that first divorce. And instinctively just spend that time to self-love and understand. So I got it right next time, but I didn't. I was a codependent, and someone swept me off my feet. Immediately after that, I was straight into another marriage. And a lot of learning, a lot of processing. And so I had 2 wonderful children.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was a wonderful purpose of those marriages too.
Mm-hmm.
So even the painful things that happen in your life are learning experiences.
Definitely.
The good, the bad, has to be treated the same.
Yeah, I find that every single relationship that we have has come as a learning experience for us.
Yes. And when you learn from it, it goes away. You
Mm-hmm.
can release it. You can let it go, because we don't want to live in the past. Right. And that's where mindfulness and meditation is so practical and so important, because it grounds you in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have those 100,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are repetitive and about the past, where we beat ourselves up over some mistake we thought we made. And we go over and over. And why are we doing that? It's kind of insane, because we can't change it. It's over.
Yeah.
And you can't, it's over. You can't rewrite history. And then the future, of course, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we can't control that either.
Yeah.
But people try to control it with their crazy, monkey mind, thinking constantly. But the mindfulness meditation is so practical in every aspect of your life.
Yeah. I read from a Buddhist book something that was so, it's so ridiculous when you think about it. He said, I just find it so funny what the Westerners do, that instead of paying for a mistake once, okay, you made a mistake, you pay for it. Westerners, we pay for it over and over and over again every time that we think about it and keep bringing it up, and we keep paying for it in the pain that we cause ourselves.
Yes, we are causing our own suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And the suffering is from the thoughts we think.
Yeah.
The event is over,
mm-hmm.
but we keep suffering.
Right.
And we're creating our own suffering.
Mm-hmm. And we think about it in the negative part of what happened, and we do have the ability to look at what was the positive thing that came from it, the lesson, or, even a relationship that ends, or a job that ends. I always try to reframe it as, if that didn't happen, that it shouldn't have happened, and it's allowing me and opening up the space for the right thing to come in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know some people, friends of mine will commiserate, oh, I lost that place I was living in. The woman kicked me out of my house, blah, 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 that I was sharing. And they were so upset. And I said, hey, this is great. Because now you can get a place with a bigger room, less rent, and nicer people.
Right.
And they're like, what? Really? Yeah. And it did happen that way. It does happen that way because things with experience, of course, you know better, you do better.
Right.
So it is a matter of, like you said, perspective.
Yeah, it's definitely the perspective. And I would like to come back to what you mentioned in the beginning about choosing our thoughts. So how does one approach that? How have you approached that? How do you teach others to do it?
It is a lifelong process.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, it is based on self-love, being aware of your inner self-talk is very important. You have to know where you are now, accept where you are now first. So many people are in denial or just unaware. So meditation is when you detach from those thoughts. So on my app, I have the classic breath meditation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a classic Buddhist secular meditation, which is so wonderful because it increases your self-awareness. You learn to detach from those thoughts. You learn to see them more like clouds floating in and then letting them go without diving into the story, without attaching opinions and judgment, memories, and all that mental chatter.
Yeah.
You just learn to see it come, see it go. And you realize you are not your thoughts.
That's so hard to do, though.
Yeah, but it's just practice like anything else. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And it's also, that's why a guided meditation is very good for that. People need to do it. They like to be guided at the beginning, especially. And even people have been meditating for years on Insight Timer app, for example. They do my breath meditations because they need a little reminding, a little bit of a kickstart, boost.
Yeah. I feel like so many of these lessons, I have to come back to them over and over. And it's not that I don't know it, but kind of like fades away from my mind. And it's so helpful to have a reminder.
Yes, I mean, it's a discipline, but once again, you don't want to be too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
You don't want to try too hard. Once you start trying too hard, then that's the myth of meditation too, is people think you can shut down your mind, which is impossible. Or they think that you have to concentrate really hard on something, which is too stressful.
Right.
And so it's kind of a myth that it's not. It's actually a very relaxing way of spending quality time with your own breath. Because in breath meditation, we bring the breath that's always in the background. It's always happening day and night. We don't notice it, take it for granted. And then we bring it to the forefront of our awareness. And suddenly, all that chatter, background noise. That's it. It hasn't gone away really, but we're just not paying attention to it. We're saying this is more important. And you spend that quality time investigating your breath, investigating your body when you do a body scan to release stress in your shoulders or your neck, and you just learn to relax and bring on that relaxation response. It's all just a matter of making that a part of your life instead of the other. Replacing, like when you need to have a new habit, you can't just break a bad habit by eliminating it. You have to replace it by a new healthy habit.
Hey, I'm quickly interrupting the episode to extend an invitation. If you are interested in deepening into any of the subjects we talk about on the podcast, we offer many different experiences on our beautiful grounds here in Baja, Mexico. From 9-day modules such as sound healing and yoga nidra to breath and meditation, as well as 200 or 300-hour yoga teacher trainings and many different shorter retreats. Check out our website, yandara.com, to see all the information about the different experiences. Let's get back to the episode. That's such a good point that it's not about stopping to do something that's way too hard. It's about replacing it with something that is beneficial.
Yeah, and just fine-tuning it. Not expecting to get it right away. I mean, even if you set your mind, I'm going to jog 30 minutes every day this week, and you set a realistic goal, but you only do 4 days, and you fall asleep on the couch on the 5th day instead, and then you call yourself a big fat lazy pig, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
You've just undone all the, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
don't be so hard on yourself. How would you say to a friend who did, you'd say, wow, you did 4 days.
Right.
That's great. And wow, you listened to your body.
Right.
Your body was tired. It needed the nap. So good for you for having a nap instead of beating yourself up.
Yeah. Again, reframing it and
Reframing.
deciding what is the perspective we want to have.
Yeah, be your own cheerleader. Befriend yourself. That's what I tell people. Try to be your own best friend. I know it sounds cliche, and it does sound a little flip and easy, and I don't want it to give the wrong impression that this is easy work.
Right.
It really isn't. It's a matter of one step at a time.
So what would you say is the first few steps for somebody who's maybe in a really dark place, or even if they're not, maybe we can have like 2 examples of somebody in a really dark place and somebody who's okay, but still would like to dedicate more time to this practice and strengthen their self-love and worth?
Well, I think the extreme example first, where you are in a dark place, part of self-love is asking for help. People believe that they don't want to bother anyone. They don't want to be a burden. I have to do it on my own. And that's probably why we fail so many times, or we think we're failing, but
So
often
true.
we don't reach our goals because we have to do it by ourselves. Who made up that rule?
Right.
That's a crazy rule. And so the first thing I teach people is to feel good about asking for help and support. People love to support each other. In fact, there are so many people who volunteer their time in this world. They give. They need more time for themselves, of course, but why do they volunteer? Because it feels good.
Right.
They don't get paid for it. It doesn't really help their bank account. It's because it feels good. It makes them happy. So when you are asking for help, you're doing them a favor. You're saying, help me. And they're like, oh, it gives them a chance. They're flattered that you trust them,
Right.
that you have this judgment-free space where you think, this person's going to help me and they want to help you. So whatever the goal is, find somebody. And if you're in a very dark place, pick up the phone. Tell someone, you know what? I'm getting a little dark over here. Can we go for a walk? Have you got 5 minutes? Just be honest, be vulnerable. Vulnerability is your greatest strength.
Right.
Because when you open your heart, you give others permission to open theirs and let your light shine. But if your light is dim and you're going down that dark place, I have been there. I have had many dark nights of the soul. And we have to go there sometimes because the seeds are planted in the dark. And those seeds turn into transformation. They turn into an oak tree. They turn into a flower. So, and this is like the classic cocoon, turns into a butterfly. Sometimes you don't realize your wings are on the way, but you need help. And do not think you're bothering anybody. You're not. People love to help.
Yeah.
So that's number 1.
I love that because I find that it's so much easier for me to do these practices when I do it in a group, when I do it with somebody else. And that's not a weakness, it's a strength. There's strength in numbers and cheering each other on and holding each other accountable. I love that point.
The connection.
Yeah.
We need more connection.
Yeah.
And then for just the average person that wants to improve their practice and increase their self-love, there are many ways they can do that. They can do it with a gratitude journal. They can do it reprogramming their subconscious mind with positive affirmations. That is why if you come to any of my classes, you will always, even if you're at the end of the class, you will hear affirmations. I finish all my classes because when you're deep in meditation or a very peaceful place and your mind is a fertile soil for planting positive seeds. So I always make the most of that time to plant some seeds. And so I have a lot of recordings, and you'll find many, not just Inside Timer, my app, but YouTube, everywhere. I go to sleep with 8 hours of affirmations playing. And your subconscious mind soaks it up.
Yeah.
So that I recommend. Gratitude practice, writing down positive things is also good. And that's a start. There's also journaling, working it out. Take that negative belief. We have these deep-seated beliefs that we're unworthy. And they can start with when you're doing your breath meditation, you notice the thoughts that pop up. So maybe in your journal, you could write something that came up like, my boss really hates me. I'm never going to get anywhere with this job. Write it down in black and white, and then become your own judge and jury and disprove that negative belief. And just have like a pro and con column, and say like you're the lawyer. Well, actually, I would like to dispute that, because your boss actually let you leave early the other day for half an hour, and she actually complimented you on this blah, blah, blah. And just start to build a case where, you know what? That negative belief isn't even true.
Yeah.
So these thoughts might be real, but they're not true. And sometimes we catastrophize and we exaggerate. So whenever you say the word never and always, watch it. That's a flag. That's a red flag. Or say should. If you say the word should, I say to people, stop shoulding on yourself. It's not healthy.
Yeah, like what we should be doing and we're not doing.
Don't do should, because shoulding is perfectionism. So just awareness is bringing loving, kind awareness, slowing down, having healthy boundaries. If there are people in your life that are bombarding you with negativity, and it's not, if it's having a negative effect on you, you can't work on yourself. You have to learn to have that assertiveness once again in communication, and just say, I need a break. I need some space.
So first of all, eliminating negativity from external factors like people.
You can limit those external factors. Yes,
Right.
I would say limit them.
Right.
You don't have to cut people totally out of your
Right.
life. That's up to you. But it's just also a matter of learning to love yourself just by listening to your body, listening to your mind, and your heart.
So
and
what
seeing
we're
what's
speaking
best.
about is awareness.
It is all about awareness. Yeah.
Am I really perceiving the situation as it is? And learning to be your own judge or the jury, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, it's less judgy, more loving.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't the right word I was
I know
feeling
what
that,
you mean.
Yeah.
But it's like there is fear-based thinking and love-based thinking. And I'm a Course in Miracles person. Course in Miracles is a relationship therapy, if anything else. It's relationship therapy, relationship with yourself and others. And self-love is when you put yourself at the bottom of the list, when you're giving to everyone else, and you're the last priority. So you have to put yourself at the top, because it's like the oxygen mask. It comes down, so you put yours on first so you can help others.
Yeah.
When you have self-love and you come from a place of love, not fear, because Course in Miracles is all about shifting your perception from fear to love. And that comes, number one, yourself, I believe. So when you can fill yourself with love, you have something truly valuable, authentic, to give back to the world. You can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
So it all is connected. And it comes down to yourself as a priority, not the last on the list. You have to make time for your wellness and your sanity. And then all of a sudden, it's so easy to give.
Yeah.
Because
It's
you
a
have so
generous
much.
practice.
Being generous.
Yeah.
And when you give, you receive. That's another law of the universe, is whenever you give something away, you create a vacuum for more of that to come into your life.
Mm-hmm. And this energy of a cyclical exchange and not just one way or being in a place of needingness, right?
Exactly. If
Yeah.
you fill your cup of self-love, it overflows. And
Mm.
you get that flow, the flow of abundance in your life, an abundant health, abundance of relationships and happiness.
Yeah. I love that.
Good.
I would love to speak also about affirmations. How does one approach that? Because that's something I really want to incorporate in my practice.
Oh, yes. Well, I love Louise Hay. She was the queen of affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
And I love affirmations so much. It is a rule.
Mm-hmm.
There are rules to affirmations. A lot of people will think that I don't want toxic people in my life is an affirmation.
Okay.
It's not. Because first of all, it's saying what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to remember, we're not talking about what you don't want. We're talking about affirming what we do want.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, it has to start with I am is a good beginning. I am happy. I am healthy. I am enough. I approve of myself was actually Louise Hay's favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, it has to be in the present tense, because if you say, I will love myself, the brain hears sometime in the future, we're going to love ourselves.
And I don't right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sometime in the future. It's always over
Yeah.
there.
Mm.
So it's not, so it's a matter of, the brain is very literal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not tricking the brain. It's just learning how to communicate with it in the present moment where it's very literal.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, I approve of myself. And sometimes people, their mind is so negative and stuck that they cannot, if you say, I am abundant and I am full of love, fulfilled, say you want to work on your finances. You say, I am fulfilled financially. They're going to say, you're going to get a lot of pushback from your mind if you are in debt with $5 in your bank.
Yeah.
They're going to say, oh, no, that's so unrealistic.
Right.
So what you say is, I am in the process.
Mm-hmm.
That gets around the skepticism of the brain.
Because I was going to ask that. What if somebody doesn't believe what they're saying when they're affirming?
So you say, I'm in the process, which is great because you can accept that.
Yeah.
And it's still processing. It's still the present moment.
Yeah. And accepting that it's a process.
Yes. I am in the process of creating health in my life. I'm in the process of creating wealth in my life. I am open to the flow of wealth, but I am in the process of becoming healthier and happier.
Yeah, I'm open to it. I love that.
I am open is a good one.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a matter of journaling, once again, working out what resonates with you. Some people prefer other words, but it has to resonate, has to be positive, has to be in the present tense.
So again, choosing what to focus
so
on.
much better. Does that sound better?
It sounds so much better.
Yeah, right? It's something you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And is there a certain frequency that one should do it, certain times of day, certain mindsets that one should do it in?
I do it all the time. I love this one particular one I listen to when I'm going for my hikes, sometimes walking. I will, and it's great, especially when you're left alone with your thoughts. They can go haywire. So sometimes it's good to put on the headphones, listen to someone like Kenneth Soares on Inside Timer. I love him. He has these great drum beats. And so you walk to the drum and he says the affirmations and he picks a theme. So you could do like a gratitude affirmation while you're walking, where he says all these affirmations, gratitude. Or you could listen to my self-love one and just listen to all the self-love meditations while you're exercising, or sometimes play them in the background while you're cleaning the house. All those times when you think you don't need, just have it, because the subconscious mind is always working. You don't have to sit and meditate and repeat them over and over. You just have to have them playing in the background. But then again, pick a favorite one and then use it as a mantra if you like.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it keeps you calm, as long as you're not, stimulating that cortisol response, as long as you're not putting yourself under stress again.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you. I love that. I'm going to use it for sure. And I'm thinking about high achievers, that they want to do a lot, be a lot, create a lot. And in order to do that, you need some level of stress, right? It's kind of the fire that pushes you to achieve. So what would you say to somebody who says to you, I need to be in this stress in order to achieve the goals that I have? Mm-hmm. And if I become a hippie meditating all day, I won't be able to achieve all that I want to achieve.
Oh, that is such a good question. I love that because there are so many type A personalities out there that are adrenaline junkies, but they have it under control because they use it at certain times. Mm-hmm. And you do need to fuel that desire. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we have adrenaline, because we need it for certain things. You can't expect an Olympic swimmer to jump in the pool without adrenaline, right. And you need it. That's why it's good. But they will not become a vegetative meditating hippie. I know that's mm-hmm. another extreme, stereotype. Mm-hmm. Just like type A personalities are kind of a stereotype. There's all sorts of people in the middle. But I would suggest to them that be careful, because it does get addictive, the adrenaline. Mm-hmm. Also, be careful of not slowing down enough to listen to your body when you take that 5th cup of coffee. Mm. Be careful what you're doing to your system. Listen to it. Know how to relax. Now, the good thing about a lot of these high achievers is they exercise hard. Mm-hmm. They work hard. They play hard. That's their stress relief. So that's why they can achieve a lot too, is because they might get on the treadmill at the end of the day or ski for a couple hours on the slopes. And that releases a ton of stress. Mm-hmm. That gets the happy hormones flowing to balance their life.
Exercise.
So a lot of their goals with the exercise is actually a very good thing for them. Mm-hmm. So exercise is another way out of the stress cycle. Mm-hmm. You can do it mentally with thoughts, you can do it with your feelings, with gratitude journaling, or you could do it through exercise.
Yeah, I love what you said, that it's about kind of channeling this fire to mm-hmm. something that creates calm in the body.
Mm-hmm. It does, yeah. And everyone has their own way of dealing with stress, and it's good as long as they use it, mm-hmm. as long as they deal with it. Because sometimes, if I put you, attached you to an electroencephalograph machine with the little electrodes, it would show that you are in maybe alpha, little bit beta, because we're wide awake and we're being very logical. So usually when you're problem solving, you're in beta rhythm, wide awake. But you have to be careful, because when the stress response kicks in, you're going up the chart. Your brainwave frequency increases. Mm-hmm. And that's where you might have a nervous breakdown. Your nerves don't actually break, but your brainwave frequency is off the chart. And what meditation and breathing and exercise does is slows it down to an alpha level and theta level, which is the creative part of the mind. Mm. Children up to the age of 7 are in alpha. And so they are learning languages mm-hmm. so easily, right? When you're raised with a bilingual family, it's so easy. Mm-hmm. Because they're in this level of mind where you're open to your memory banks, are easily accessible. And so we can achieve that as adults if we learn to slow it down.
Mm-hmm. I love what you just said about that these states of alpha and theta are the creative part of our process. And there is somebody who I follow and deeply appreciate that speaks about this. His name is Seth Godin. He speaks about everybody is an artist. No matter what field you're in, even if it's not considered an artistic field, even if you're an engineer, you can be an artist in the way that you approach it, in the way that you solve problems, in the way that you create in your field. And that relates to this, that being a professional human being has so much to do with being creative and creating. And if you relate it to what we're speaking about, when you allow yourself to be in these relaxed states and creative states, you create from a more aligned and, I guess, holistic place.
Absolutely. That is so true. And that is another stress relief technique, actually, is to find a creative outlet. I tell people they need to find a creative outlet. They've forgotten that maybe they used to paint when they were kids or coloring. And we need a creative outlet of some kind because we are all artists, of course. Our soul needs to be expressed in some way. And we don't know what, everybody has their own expression. And uniqueness. It's so important to be creative.
It relates to what we were saying before as well about lightening up, We have to incorporate things that are just fun.
Yeah. I mean, the kids are in alpha. We want to be more childlike. We want to have fun. We want to play. And find people to play with. And like I said before, we have to begin with ourselves, but also our own neighborhood of friends and family. And making a little bit of a difference there it's a huge ripple effect. If you compliment someone, not flattery, just a sincere, wow, you notice positive things. You start to see the beauty around you, and then verbalizing it, like, I love the color of your pants. It's such a pretty blue. And I mean, they were like, oh, thank you. And you make them feel better. Or I often, one time I complimented an airline person who was in a terrible mood. She was like, telling everyone, how to pack their bags. And she was like so stressed out. So I packed my bag for her and everything. And she had the most beautiful sparkly makeup that matched her nails. And I had to say something because I couldn't help it. And she just, whole demeanor changed.
Wow.
And she was just like so much happier than everyone else behind me. And you just never know the ripple effect that it's going to have, that you're going to make someone feel a little lighter. And then they're going to see something and say it to someone else. And that kindness spreads.
I love that idea. Kindness spreads.
And it all begins with you. And one other person, that's all it takes. And it's like spreading peace with, that's why I created my meditation app. I thought, if peaceful person spreads peace, if we could spread peace through the world, one peaceful person at a time. It's something. It's some contribution to world peace. That's why apps like Tranquil Me or Insight Timer, they are truly spreading peace around the world, because anyone in the world can get it and access their own inner peace with just a little help.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love, love, love this.
It could be as easy as that. People think, oh, that's too big an aspiration for me. I'll leave that to Gandhi. But you know what? No, we really can. One little change. Don't try and become a perfect person. Just speak to yourself with kindness. There's a change.
And if we don't like a way that we, like a certain dynamic that we have in a relationship, or maybe even the place that we're in, it's really not about trying to change the other person. It's looking at ourselves. Where can I show up better in this situation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to own our own stuff. We are responsible for our own health and happiness. That's the first step.
Taking responsibility
Yes.
for ourselves.
For ourselves.
Ooh.
Stop judging others and stop pointing the finger, because actually when you judge others, I know you're being harsh on yourself.
Mm.
You know, you're pretty hard on yourself if you're doing that to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you fix this, you're going to fix the world.
Yeah.
You're going to accept people more. You can give them a break.
Right.
Give yourself a break. Then you're
Right.
going to give everyone else a break.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, is it really that important? Really? You're going to stop and you're going to say to yourself, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true that when you learn to be kinder with yourself and take yourself lightly, you do that with others.
Absolutely. And you give them permission to lighten up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, she's so goofy. It looks like fun.
Yeah.
Maybe I could do that.
Yeah.
You can. You can. You can laugh. You can have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And because you know what? Everyone's so worried about what people think. And I often tell them, they're not thinking about you. They're actually thinking about themselves. Because they're worried about how they look.
Yeah.
So just do what you want.
Yeah.
And don't worry about it. And it's on them. If they don't like you wearing your short shorts at the dinner table, or whatever it is they're judging you on, or you're showing too much cleavage, oh, shame on you. You know, just lighten up.
Yeah.
It's okay. The world's not going to end.
Yeah.
Just, take it easy.
Yeah. And it's so true also that it's really like if you want something to change, it's not going to help you if you tell somebody to do something in a different way. It never works.
No. And you know what? It's on you.
Yeah.
It's on you. If you don't like it, investigate. Why is it triggering you?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so triggered by this person, whatever it is they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
The thing I wish people could do is let go of the past. Leave it in the past. Learn from it. Find out how it has helped you,
Mm-hmm.
as in your journey, and then let it go. Start again. Mm-hmm. Be grateful for every new day, a fresh start. It's always a chance to begin again. Lightening up on yourself. It's okay. You could try again.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. Start over. Every day is a new opportunity.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. We have so many good points here and so many different practices that I think are very practical. And, it's not something big. You're not saying you need to sit now for 2 hours and meditate. It's about being mindful when you drink that cup of coffee, being mindful when you listen to somebody. I really love that point as well.
Yes, listening meditation is something I teach with the communication styles. Mm-hmm. Because when you listen fully to someone, you are making eye contact. Because usually when we're in conversation, we're planning what we're going to say next in our mind. Yeah. We're only half there. We're waiting for a pause. We're waiting for a break to go, I'm going to go say my thing. Because you're making points, just scoring points. But a true listening mindfully is body language, open legs, open arms, receiving, giving them the signals that you're open. You're not like this, closed off and defensive. You're open. You make eye contact. And also you connect to their heart. You feel what they're feeling as they say it. And you feel where they're coming from. It's almost like putting yourself in their shoes. Mm-hmm. And then when they stop talking, you count to 10 in your mind. You don't speak right away. You wait. Take some breaths, and you'll find quite often they'll start up again. You're giving them permission. They're not done. Mm-hmm. And they can really, really vent. They suddenly feel safe and non-judgy. So they tell you more and more, and you get more information and more. And then you wait again, and then you can reframe what you think they said back to them. Mm-hmm. You say, I heard you say that you didn't want to go on the vacation, blah, blah, blah. And they go, oh, no, I didn't mean that. I meant I wanted the but, and it didn't it? And you go, oh, okay. Like it's another Don Miguel Ruiz, it's another agreement. Don't assume.
Yeah.
So when we reframe and ask them, did you say that? That's what I heard. Because, of course, we all have our own filters, perception. And so they might say one thing, we hear it another way. And also we use different words. So we might not even have heard what they're saying correctly. So reframe it and don't assume you know what they're saying or feeling. So you just go, did you mean that? I wasn't sure. And then they can say, no, actually I meant that. And you go, cool. So mindful listening wholeheartedly with compassion is something that we can all improve and work on and try to use in our life. I'm a chronic interrupter because I'm a teacher. I see something I want to fix. Oh, they could constantly stopping myself. It's not easy.
Yeah, taking a breath.
Yeah, and I don't trying to be perfect, but I just want to, you see these things, you're responsible, and you want to just be there for them and be a better listener.
Yeah.
So you got to know where you are now.
That's such an important point. I want to listen to this conversation another 4 times. I will when I'm editing it, but
Yeah, you will.
But mindful listening, just reflecting back what you heard and noticing if that's actually what the person meant.
Yeah.
Did I understand that correctly, or was that my glasses that I see through?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a biggie.
Yeah.
It's a biggie.
Beautiful. Is there anything else that's important for you to mention?
Just lighten up.
Yeah.
Lighten up on yourself, on the world, on everybody. Do your best, but lighten up.
Yeah. So true. How can people stay connected with you?
Well, I have a website, tranquilmeapp.com, and we post the events for Lighten Up Retreat on there. And then I also follow me on Insight Timer. We have a great group of people there. And I do live meditations. You can meditate with me live and interact with me on Insight Timer and also on the retreat. So you could just Google Kathryn Remati.
Great. Kathryn, thank you so much for this. I learned so much. I can't wait to listen to this over and over again. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with me.
I really appreciate you inviting me. Thank you so much.
Now, after this time to nurture your mind and your spirit, we invite you to take a moment to consider others. A kind wish might come to mind. Know that what we learn becomes more valuable when we apply it and share it with others. So share this episode on Instagram stories, tag Yandara and I, or share with a loved one so that more people can benefit from it. Our hope is that the search will lead you home to who you already are, to what was always there. We'll be back next week with more inspiration, honest conversation, and insight into the energetic world around us. Thank you for listening and watching.